Okay, we will call a meeting to order. It is Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and not born.
Okay. Minutes and reports received and filed. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
Prince of the Week at Eastside Business Association meeting Friday. I did. Guess the Relay for Life is Friday. That's about it till the next meeting.
Senator Blunt speaking at Associated Industries this afternoon, and safety meeting Thursday, is that right? That's about all I got.
Had a interview with City Magazine. I'm going to be their person you should know in their next issue. Thursday, we're buying Christie a new building. Yeah, at 8:30.
Can we talk to the City Magazine too?
They said I was better looking than you, so I got a photographer.
A radio Facebook.
Friday is the Rotary Club Centennial Celebration, so I get a free dinner and I get to give them a proclamation. And
You gotta read the
Saturday,
whole thing.
pardon?
Read the whole thing this time. Okay, so.
Well, Melody wrote a really good one, and then they sent out a template, and the cities, I had said we'd present one, so then the city and Mike Keogh, I think we're all gonna read the same thing, so. Saturday's a Kids Fest downtown, so that's all I've got.
Awesome.
Presentation from invited guests, do you pronounce it Ecker?
Ecker Law Group.
Ecker Law Group
And
presentation.
really, it's a few different law firms that are working together representing counties. Missouri Opioid Litigation Consortium, and Tom Leach will be presenting.
Okay. If you,
Just talk in the microphone, it
Yeah.
doesn't amplify. Please.
Okay, well, give me if I'm standing up.
Yeah.
yes,
Thank you very much. Like John said, my name is Tom Leach. I'm from the law firm of Goldenberg, Heller, and Cannoli. John is from the Ecker Law Group. I do have a couple of things for you before we get started.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Another.
Oh, you can
I
have,
think it-
you can have one of mine, or you
That'd be
can make
fine.
a copy or something.
We're here about the opioid crisis, and the past 2 decades have been characterized by increasing abuse and diversion of prescription opioids. By 2010, there were enough prescription opioids written every single year to medicate every single adult with a therapeutic dose of hydrocodone every 4 hours for a month. The death toll from prescription opioids has tripled in the past 10 years. More than 40 people die every day from prescription opioid overdoses. There's 5,500 people that start abusing prescription opioids every single day. People addicted to prescription opioids are more likely to become addicted to heroin. Heroin overdoses have tripled in the past 4 years. The economic burden now of prescription opioids is now estimated at over $78.5 billion a year. There's a baby born every 25 minutes now suffering from opioid withdrawal. Opioids now are killing as many people in this state as are motor vehicle accidents. There's a nationwide crisis, and Cole County's not an exception to that. Nationally, there's 66.5 prescriptions per opioid, per 100 people. 66.5 prescriptions for opioids per 100 people for every single year. That's the national average. In Cole County, you're much higher than that. 97.2 prescriptions per 100 people per year in Cole County. Now, if you equate that and you say a prescription is a 15-day use prescription or 90 opioid pills, in this county every year, if you extrapolate that out, more than 6.5 million opioid pills prescribed in this county every single year. If my numbers are right, about 75,000 people in this county. Opioids are a problem. And as I look at this and I talk to prosecutors across this state, and I've covered a lot of Illinois as well, what we're finding is what happens is people go to the doctor, they start out with a regular opioid prescription, maybe they're prescribed hydrocodone. Some people they just can't help becoming addicted. They then figure out that the hydrocodone is not enough. So maybe they go back to the doctor, who then mixes it with a benzodiazepine, which is like a Xanax. So now you've got a benzodiazepine and a hydrocodone mix. At some point that becomes not enough or becomes too expensive, or the doctor then pulls them off after they're addicted. That leads to people finding heroin. Mexican drug cartels see what's going on. They look at the prescriptions, the same statistics that I look at, that I tell you about today, the drug cartel is looking at in Mexico. When they see high numbers of opioids, they know that's where the heroin needs to be. And it does show up in communities. Once somebody moves from the opioid and the benzodiazepine from the heroin, then suddenly the heroin's not enough and they start looking for this fentanyl, and this fentanyl that's laced in the heroin. And when you start seeing fentanyl in your community, that's when you start seeing people die, and they die in large clusters. Death and abuse are not the only cause of this opioid crisis, but it leads to many, many more crimes related to the opioids and to getting the opioids. Increases in burglary, increases in domestic abuse, neglect of children related to it. We now have more individuals more children being raised by their grandparents in this country than we ever have. The economy is damaged extraordinarily. People lose jobs. Basically, it's a problem that covers every aspect. Now, it's a community problem too. It's been forced on the community. And what's necessary are community solutions to handle these community problems. Before I get into what we say needs to be done to help fix this problem, help abate this problem, you need to understand how the problem was created. And it's really pretty simple. Drug manufacturers and drug distributors are simply not doing what they're legally mandated to do. In 1970, the United States Congress passed the Controlled Substances Act. And as part of that Controlled Substances Act, they wanted to figure out a way, how are we going to prevent the diversion of legal narcotics for non-medical use? And what they decided to do was to add a distributor layer into the distribution chain. As there's manufacturers, there's pharmacies, in between there's distributors. And the distributors had one duty only, and that was look for suspicious orders, and if they're suspicious, don't deliver them and report them to the DEA. Well, a suspicious order, it sounds, like something that may be hard to define, but a suspicious order is simply something of an unusual size, an unusual frequency, or something of a different pattern from the last time. Congress did that because they recognized these are addictive drugs. They will be diverted for non-medical uses if they're put out there. And they have been. They've been diverted in communities like yours. Well, what the distributors figured out was we've really got Willy Wonka's golden ticket here. All we've got to do is report these suspicious orders. Every single drug has to come through our facility or a facility like ours before it goes on the manufacturer. But what they also figured out is we've really got Willy Wonka's golden ticket on steroids if we don't report these suspicious orders and we let the drugs go through, because then we sell a lot more drugs. And the three companies that found that out, there's really three distributors that manage 85% of all of the opioids. NeuroSourceBergen, Cardinal Health, and McKesson. These are huge companies. These are $150 billion a year revenue each, or more. Put that in perspective, Microsoft, Apple, less than $100 billion a year. So bigger than those companies. Well, they figured this out, and they figured out, hey, what we do is if we don't report these, so the DEA comes after us. They can only fight us one case at a time because we can literally tie up every single agent in one case. Every single bit of their diversion program we can tie up. We might get a $150 million fine, but that's nothing compared to the money we're going to make. And that has been their business as usual. Well, by them not reporting these drugs, we've seen a lot of these drugs on the street. They're diverted, and then you see this transition from prescription opioid, heroin, fentanyl, death, and tremendous cost on society. Drug crimes going up, overdoses going up, property crimes going up, babies addicted to drugs, increased police costs, increased first responder costs. Now you've got to have Narcan virtually in every ambulance for sure, and now in a lot of communities, every police car. Policemen are becoming lifesavers because they're sticking a needle in somebody to literally bring them back to life when they find them. What it really does, it creates a nuisance in your community. And that's why we're talking to commissions, and we're talking about community problems. Commissions are used to dealing with nuisances. And that's what this is. Distributors, manufacturers are not following the law. By not following the law, they're creating a problem in your community. We say it's their duty, because they created the problem, to abate that problem. And that's why nuisance is the type of lawsuits that we're filing here. We've put together a team of lawyers that now has 10 law firms involved, many of them national. My firm is in Illinois. John and Steve Donner are in Missouri. We've got 7 other law firms nationally. The group as a whole has filed over 450 of these lawsuits. I personally have 35 of them in Southern Illinois. We're just getting started in Missouri. I think we've got 3 or 4 now here in Missouri that are ready to file lawsuits. So what is it that we're asking for in these nuisance lawsuits? We're asking, number one, distributors start following the law, start reporting suspicious orders so we don't have all of these drugs flowing into the community to be diverted for non-medical uses. Number two, we need to abate the problem that you've already created. And to do that, it really requires a 3-prong abatement model. First, need to educate young people about the dangers of opioids. Young people, and we're not talking about high school. High school's too late. Little kids need to understand that mom and dad's medicine bottle may be as dangerous as the crack pipe. We need real programs to do that. Now, in the model that we have created, it's really been created in Huntington, West Virginia, where the crisis is as bad as anywhere. Quite candidly, it's worse than it is here, but it's headed this way. It's sort of on a track from east to west, sort of right up the corridor that includes Cole County. In Huntington, West Virginia, which is, like I said, Cabo County is about this size, a little bigger, maybe 90,000 people more or less, but in Cabo County, West Virginia, after getting the academics together, getting the experts together, it looks like it's going to be about $5 million a year over the next 10 years just to educate young people about the dangers of opioids to try to abate this problem. The second prong of the abatement model is public safety. That is the increased policing, the increased cost of prosecuting these crimes, the increased cost of the first responders, really the front line of taking care of things as they come along that have been created as problems. In Huntington, West Virginia, that's been calculated about $10 million a year over the next 10 years in order to fix this problem. The third, and maybe the most important, is the rehabilitation prong of this. It's not really a lost generation because this doesn't affect one generation. It affects people of all ages. It doesn't discriminate based on age. It doesn't discriminate based on socioeconomic status, but it gets everybody. And we need to rehabilitate this sort of lost group of people, put them back into the workforce. They're really, really expensive programs. There's really not anything out there that's affordable to a normal person. Now they say that treatment for opioid addiction is probably at least a year program to have any likelihood of success. In Huntington, West Virginia, I think that rehabilitation of the residents there is about a $300 million, $300 to $350 million over the next 10 years to handle that. But we need to make sure the public's safe. We need to make sure that people are educated. We need to make sure that we have rehabilitation programs in place. So what we're doing, and we're doing it county by county. We're filing lawsuits for counties. We're filing them with the federal court. And we're looking to get payments from these manufacturers and distributors to specifically fix the problems that they've created. We've provided to you a proposed resolution that would ask us to do that for you. We're doing this on a contingency fee basis. We're not going to get paid anything unless we collect money for Cole County. We're going to advance all the costs. We're not going to get reimbursed those costs unless we collect money for Cole County. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So who have you, do you have somebody under contract here in Missouri already, or?
In Missouri, we have Warren County, Montgomery County, Pulaski County.
We're waiting to hear back from about 10 other counties that we've already met with. We have more meetings scheduled this week.
I see.
Yeah, we're moving all the time. I think that, I don't know if I mentioned, I think our group has filed 450 cases now. So there's a lot of people involved. And what happens is we're filing these things in the federal court. They've now all been consolidated in the Northern District of Ohio to consider all issues of common fact and law. There will be a couple of bellwether cases that are tried there. The cases will then be, if there is some kind of a settlement, then of course the commission would decide whether they wanted to participate in that or not. The case would then be shipped back and would be tried in Missouri here in the federal court.
So basically with no cost to us, I mean, would there be a monetary, I mean, if we were to win the case, would there be monetary gains for our county to help do some of this education and treatment? And
That's what we would be looking for. I mean, that's what we're asking for, is money to cover those things. Our fees are 25% of whatever we collect for you. If we don't collect anything, again, you don't pay anything. We feel like we're already making a difference because based on these lawsuits, you've seen some action by companies like Purdue, who has now reduced the number of salespeople that they have going out to visit with doctors. And you know, we think we're already seeing some results. And of course, this is only one prong of this. There's obviously a prosecution of crimes and some bad doctors and those sort of things that we can't do everything, but we're trying to do our part and trying to help commissions actually get. I mean, the bottom line is that the burden of this problem that's been created by distributors and manufacturers not following the law that burden shouldn't be borne by the taxpayers. It should be borne by those that created it.
So Joe, what do you,
Yeah, I mean, we have to modify it just a bit for our format. Names are different.
this is our attorney, see, I was turned to her, but
Yeah, John contacted me
Yeah.
originally.
we have our health department here. We have somebody from Cap Region Medical Center here. You know, you talk to some of our law enforcement, and we have a heroin problem here, which that doesn't, people don't want to know about it, don't want to hear about it, but when you talk to law enforcement, it's bad. And we were one of the first few counties that passed the prescription drug monitoring program. So we know we've got issues here in central Missouri. For a while, just outside Cole County, we were the meth capital of the world. You know, it was,
I think that was Independence, Missouri, Sam.
I thought it was over around, oh, I won't mention.
Don't know names.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm not telling you something you don't know, and you maybe not take any comfort in it, but you're not alone, you know that. You know, this is a problem everywhere. And it's, you know, as I grew up, I imagined that heroin was the Skid Row bum. You know, now I'm seeing it with people that it's just shocking to me that it's our neighbors and our friends, and anybody can fall into this. That's what's so terrible about this problem. It doesn't discriminate.
So obviously, if you correct the opioid issue, do you think the heroin issue will get worse? I mean, there's a flip side to that.
I think that it is the gateway there. Most people that, when I say most people, and maybe I'm not 100% accurate, but let's say a lot of people don't get to heroin. They never get to heroin if they don't start with the opioid pills. A lot of this starts in the doctor's office.
Sure.
And a lot of it starts because somebody else went to the doctor's office and the pills were in the medicine cabinet. You know, more than 50% of the opioid pills that are prescribed aren't used by the person they're prescribed to. And so that's, you know, these drug buyback programs, these drug turn-in programs are actually very important. And they play a role in this too. But really, so many shouldn't be going out there.
You said there's a few changes?
Well,
or-
just, you know, for
Yeah.
instance, how we do, the administrator is actually the county clerk, just things like that.
And I'd be
Okay.
happy to work with you to get that tied up.
Right, that's
And if it answers another question as well, Jill, I don't know if I sent to you before, but some of the copies of other resolutions that have been
You did.
adopted show just that we're proposing the same
Right.
opportunity county by county, but I'll work with you and take care of whatever we need to.
Sure, and as I said, these are just minor wording things. So,
And going back to Chris's, if everything would come out, then there would be some funds that would come to the Cole County that could be used for programs.
I'm betting on it.
Okay.
I mean, that's why we're in this. We think we're gonna get money for Cole County. Now, and we think that it should be for education, rehabilitation, and public safety. Of course, how those funds are spent when they come in, we're not able to earmark them. I think that you folks are the only ones that are gonna be able to decide that, and we hope that you follow and use them for those things. But yes, absolutely, we're
Okay.
counting on funds coming in for you. That's the only way we're gonna get paid anything.
I know our EMS has had a lot of, the county runs our emergency medical service, and the director said they've had a lot of problems, a lot of overdoses.
Yeah, the Narcan, just, yeah.
Yeah, and it just seems to keep going up, and if something doesn't happen, if we don't start putting into it, it's just gonna get worse.
So why aren't they just enforcing the law? Why do we have to do this?
Well,
Because if they're blatantly not reporting this stuff, then you'd seem like they'd be able to do something. I mean, that's like selling alcohol to somebody under 21 years old. I mean, they go out and they check that stuff, and then those people get fined. Same thing should be happening here. I mean, they should be doing it.
I mean, there's no question that it should be done. There's not a mechanism to do it. They were part of the they were put in as part of the enforcement system. You've only got 500 DEA agents in the whole nation in order to monitor for the diversion, illegal diversion of drugs. There's with doctors and everything, you've got more than 20,000 registrants just on the pharmacy and manufacturer and distributor side. What happens is, one of these distributors, they charge them, and they can literally tie up that whole diversion department in one case. And they hit them with a $120 million fine, but that doesn't mean anything to them when they're doing $150 billion in revenue. Literally, one of these companies, they got a $120 million fine 1 week, and within a month, they were giving a bonus of $120 million to their CEO. So it's just it's a problem with it not even being possible, and you can't put together a strong enough stick to make them stop. So they've sort of figured out how to game the system in a very big way.
We have a problem. We'll let Jill kind of work on some of this and maybe get with you, and then we'll bring it back before.
Has our PDMP done anything, Christie?
I just sent you, I just got the fourth quarter report Friday afternoon.
I saw there's a bunch of numbers.
Yeah, basically it shows that in Cole County, the females over 65 are getting the most of the prescriptions, but we know it's the 18 to 24-year-olds that are overdosing on heroin, so.
So then is that the problem? They're getting it from somebody else is supplying it?
Probably, or they're stealing it, or they're, whatever, where they're already hooked, so.
Yeah, there are, I mean, you have situations, some of the scenarios are people have an open house because they're selling their house. People come to look at the house and get in the medicine cabinet. There's a whole economies that are based on these prescription drugs.
Guess I'm naive, I would never think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's shocking what people do, and that's why you have all this property crime that's related to these drugs. They want them so bad and need them so bad to do virtually anything. And these are good people, like I say. Our friends and neighbors are doing things that is completely out of character. And it starts with the prescription drugs, and more times than not.
Okay. I don't have anything
We're gonna
else.
vote to direct me to work with John for a resolution.
Are we ready to do that, or? I'd like to kind of review this and talk to Christie a little bit.
Yeah, I want to look into it more too.
Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll,
On the surface, it seems fine, but I don't know, I got a lot of questions about it too, what, the civil suit's actually gonna do. I mean, doesn't have anything to do with people stealing it out of people's medicine shelves, or, when you're 18 and you want beer, you go get somebody that's old enough to buy it for you, and that's what we're gonna sue the alcohol companies, and because we have accidents and kids drinking, so.
Yeah, and we don't pretend that we're gonna solve every single bit of this problem on our own. The only thing we're gonna do is make sure that the distributors and manufacturers are following the law that Congress gave them. And that was designed to not have pills on the street that weren't necessary.
Sure. Okay.
So we're gonna try to do our part. Thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank y'all, it's a lot of
You bet.
information.
You guys, thanks a lot.
Just reach out to me.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thanks. Lynn, make sure we get you a copy of this thing.
Yeah. Bids and contracts, the Sansui contracts for Ameren 2013 remand and 2018-2019
Sansui.
Sansui.
Susie.
Susie, whatever,
Once again, I was not sent a copy of that. However, last weekend Debbie did provide it to me, and the thing I noticed is there's no auditor statement, and there's no line for commission to sign.
Chris, aren't there two actual agreements that you sent? One for the appeal that's ongoing and then one for him to calculate 18-19
One is
values?
Yeah,
for 2018 values and one is for the 2013 rebate.
So is it your recommendation that we have him help with that calculation?
No, my recommendation is the 2018 value, we can come up with on our own. I feel that his, in fact, this is, most of the counties feel this way, that his charges for the yearly values have gotten excessive. He wanted to set up a subscription service where we were paying $28,000 a year to get these numbers. And I don't think that's practical, nor is it good use of the county dollar. We're trying to find out what the law says and how we can value this property. So what he was originally supposed to do was come up with a method that was accepted by the tax commission and the courts for us to value this, not for him to do the values going forward. So my recommendation on the it was a contract to provide valuation services for the 2018 personal property updates for Ameren Gas Distribution System values in Cole County, Missouri. I recommend that we don't take that one forward, because originally our costs were $30,000 or $28,000. A couple counties dropped out, and now our charges went up to $30,000. A couple more drop out. They're probably going to go up some more. I don't think it's practical for us to do that. We can do our values going forward. We've come up with several offers to Ameren based on depreciation and a floor for the valuation of the property. You know, where it bottoms out, where it gets down to, Ameren wants to go to zero after 20 years. We don't feel if you've still got your pipes in the ground and they're still carrying gas, they still have a value. So there's no way we're going to accept a zero value after so many years. So these are some of the things that we're going to be looking at in the 2013 remand. We can handle with the 2017 values, we can move forward and come up with our 2018 values. So that's why I recommend that we don't enter into that contract.
So if Ameren says we're not gonna go with what you recommend, because we think it should be zero in 20 years, then what?
It all goes back to the 2013 remand. The courts have said that this case has got to go back to the state tax commission. It's got to be heard by the tax commission again. And supposedly the tax commission is going to require us to apply some depreciation, which is what we're doing with the mediation, with the offers that we've given to Ameren. And of course, none of them have been acceptable so far. But those will be the basis for which we value 2018 and going forward.
So you'll be able to figure the value of 2018, they'll still be able to appeal that or protest it.
Yeah.
But then for 2013, if it goes to a state tax commission, and state tax commission says, okay, we agree it shouldn't be at zero in 20 years, there's still some value, and this is what we say it's gonna be, can Ameren at that point appeal that again and we start all over again?
They can't start all over again. From that point, they would appeal it to the circuit court again. From then, it would be appealed to the appellate
Why don't we
court.
just go to circuit court right now and say,
Well,
because you know that's where it's gonna end up.
I believe me, I would love to
Never saw that.
to have that done.
He never sent this to me either.
And
Okay.
if it weren't, I mean, this has dragged on. And if we weren't talking about $660,000 in taxes every year, we would have dropped this. But you know, the schools have to have this money. Every taxing entity's got to have this money. If they're not getting it from Ameren, they're going to get it somewhere else. And it's probably going to be the residential real estate owners in our county. And we don't want that.
Well, and if they get away with it, then you're gonna have the next person come in wanting to do it too.
That's always a
To
possibility.
depreciate it to zero at some point.
But if we can come up with, if the State Tax Commission and the courts can come up with an agreement that this is the method that you need to use, then it'll go forward, go through the process, and once it gets to the top of that process, theoretically, goes through the circuit court, the appellate court, to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, yeah, that's what you gotta use. Then it becomes a done deal. The Supreme Court says, this is the way you gotta do it.
In 2 more years, 3 more years.
Yeah, entirely possible, and that's just, you know,
There's no price
their
on this.
schedule, how things work, and we have no control over that.
Just got early rates.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is skip over the state tax commission, you know
What's
it's
the
gonna,
other one?
they're gonna keep
No different than
going.
this one.
Well, and the
There's
problem
no-
is
No,
that
they
the
really-
state tax
it's-
commission hasn't stepped up and taken responsibility for this originally like they should have. They could have shut this down
Well,
right
yeah.
away.
Oh.
The users for Ameren are the ones paying for for their fees, so they can keep on fighting it and going on and on and on. They get to get compensated in the end, they can just keep adding it to their fees.
My recommendation would be to go forward with the 2013 remand. Let's get through that. Let's get a decision from the tax commission, possibly courts also. And if we're still caught in this endless circle, then that's the time we need to look at dropping it. But at this point, I think we need to do the 2013 remand. I really do. To get a decision, a solid decision from the tax commission saying that, okay, this is what is acceptable. This amount of depreciation applied to this amount, and then with a base of this number, which is what we've been trying to do in the mediation. And I go up again this Friday to St. Louis to have another mediation meeting.
I think we had agreed to go through with the 2013, then after that,
Originally we had, you know, you can always change your mind.
yeah.
This contract has a, I think it's not to exceed 40,000 level. And the only calculations that he would have to do would be to apply whatever depreciation and percentage of the bottom number that the tax commission would say. So I don't see that there's a whole lot of calculation in this. Now, it's possible he would have to testify again on that depreciation, but I can't see that there will be a whole lot of that. Now, and obviously, I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you how accurate those, you know, estimations are, for my opinion. That's just my opinion. And believe me, I would just as soon be done with it as you guys would. It's,
I've only met him once and I just told him.
yeah. Well, and it's just, you know,
Uh.
we're paying out a lot of money. I don't think at this point that we've reached a point where it's not beneficial for us to do it, for the taxpayer and to protect, you know, our tax base.
Look at that.
We're getting there, but we're not there yet, I don't think. And again, that's just my opinion. And let me, I have a question here. In the past, Jill said she didn't get copies of these, and that's correct. I don't send her copies. Originally, we were told that she works for the county commission and she can't do any work without your permission. So I don't send her any of this stuff. If you guys want me to send it to her, I will, but
Everybody else
Without
has a
that-
right to me, Chris.
well, I'm just telling you what the county commission advised our office. So if these guys tell me that I can do that, I'll do that.
You
I
can
think
do that.
that's Chris
Yes.
Ripley who told me that.
That's one.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. Then
Yes.
then that's what we'll do.
Now, if you come to me with something that is a conflict with the commission, that's a different deal.
It's only gonna be a contract as it relates to what's the business of my office.
Maybe I'm behind. I know this is just with Sam Susie, but do we have an agreement with Reed yet too?
That was the one we talked about, the last meeting we had. It was the 200 and, I think it was on the top end between 215 and 260,000. I don't know if y'all remember or not from the last time I was up here. And
Does that go
I
hand
don't
in
know,
hand?
I don't know if they took a vote at that time, did they? So you still have to decide on the Reed contract also.
So it looks like the Reed contract is, and it doesn't say it in this, but it says, it's not to exceed, well, doesn't really say not to exceed, it says a share of legal expense, fees and expenses is 100,000 anticipated.
You mean in the Reed contract or the
Yes.
Susie?
In the Reed contract. It says Cole County's portion.
Yeah, but he also sent out, the one that came out, I think it was the first part of May that I passed on to you all that said the estimation for the, top numbers would be, if I get my phone to work for me today, which it doesn't seem to be wanting to.
This one was dated May 9th,
Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking about.
but there's
Gary.
no mention of a 200-something thousand that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and my phone won't go back anywhere past the 22nd. I will have to recheck that when I get back to the office, but I thought for sure that that was the one that had a not to exceed amount, and he was estimating that there were two different. Okay, no, I don't see it on this one. I'll have to check and see which one that's on. Because I remember us talking about the different amounts. Do you, Kristen, do you remember?
This is the only one I saw, was the one you
Okay.
sent last Tuesday.
You don't remember us talking about the amount between 200,000 and 265,000 or something like that? Okay, I will see if I can locate that and when it was sent, because he sent the original contract and then he didn't have a do not exceed amount. So I had to contact him and contact him and contact him, and then he sent this document. So I don't know if there's considered to be two contracts out there or not, or if this is just an addendum to that contract. I don't know how that would be treated. But I will get that information shortly.
And they hand in hand, I know one of them is kind of expert witness for the 13 values, and this is to finish, hopefully, the case for 13.
Reed's is to do the legal part of it, to do the testimony, to handle the tax commission hearing, and I think he estimated, if I remember correctly, estimated through the
Yeah,
appellate
that clerk ain't
level,
getting that, I'm sure.
his estimations for
I'm
costs
sure
there.
that clerk's not getting
And
paid
that
that.
would be for the legal portion of it.
So, in my opinion, neither the Sans Souci contract nor this contract has a limit, has an upper end, just an anticipated amount. And, unless we put language in there that says that not to exceed $40,000, or they come back, I'm gonna vote no.
No, I would agree with you, but I thought that I received something that said that. I will have to check on that again. It's a problem, I get 2 and 3 copies of these contracts and then end up not knowing which one is the one we're going forward with. They send it one way and we require it another way, so we have to go back and rework these things. But I will look them up again and see if I can't get what I was reading last week.
I mean, I'm good with the hourly rates and whatever, just, I mean,
It's
I
a
don't,
amount.
I don't need all this stuff that's in here. I just need to
Right.
say, these are my hourly rates and contract not to exceed $40,000.
That's what that's, there,
It doesn't say that.
well, that's what Chris,
Well, it does say it
yeah,
on
it
this
does,
one,
yeah.
Which one?
on the San Souci here. But Lewis and Reed doesn't.
No,
Okay.
no, the San Souci does.
And which one is that? Is no? Is that the? That is for the 2013.
Jeff?
plan.
Look at that.
No. What page is
We
that
still
on?
need the auditor's statement and we still need a
Because-
signature line
For the commission.
for the commission.
Okay.
Okay, I see it there, yeah, 2.6
We go through
compensation
this
return.
every
So it is in that one. I knew I read 40,000
So we
somewhere.
need to redo it before we vote on it?
Okay.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
You said there is a not to exceed.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right there where it's highlighted
And
and
there's no place
underlined.
for you all to sign, or Kristen.
Well, we don't, we're not responsible with,
Yeah, we are.
I know.
You're the one who has to appropriate.
I
the
know.
money.
Did you see it there?
I saw something highlighted, it said 40,000.
Yeah.
Not to exceed 40,000.
Maybe you want to do both of them at the same time, that's just my.
Yeah, I
I don't
think,
think so. They're both about the 2013 year.
Yeah, but saying Susie was, we don't want him doing some of that stuff.
Well, the
Well, wait, this-
2013 remand
Evaluate
case,
the
not the
18.
2018.
here's the 18.
Yeah.
It's two separate.
So 2018, we're,
They're-
we're
Yeah,
not
we're
even
not.
interested in it.
Right, right.
we're
There's
not.
two
That's what
separate
you're talking
about,
projects
Debbie.
that were sent. And it says at the top, contract to provide valuation services for 2018 personal property. That's the one we want to set aside. And go with the contract to provide valuation, general consulting, expert witness testimony services for the 2013 appeal remand.
Was that what you were talking about, Debbie? You said do both at the same time.
We'll do Reed's, Reed and, yeah.
You really don't need San Souci unless you sign the contract with Reed.
Yeah,
True.
so I'd really.
So I need to go
Okay.
see what other copy I can find of Reed's stuff.
I'm fine either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And Chris, you need to tell them that we need to tack our auditor's statement on there.
I've done that.
Well, until they fix it.
Jill, you might just talk to them and do it attorney to attorney. Maybe they'll answer to you quicker or something. I don't know. It seems like they've been jacking us around several times. We've only talked about this at every meeting for the last 8 months.
Yep.
Maybe not that long, but
I don't have their contact information.
I'm sure we can get it.
Talk to John Ruth. Chris, who you talking?
I would talk to John, cause then it's
I
gonna cost us
send
$80 more.
I'm not saying I'm going to now, I'm just saying in the past, he has been the go-between.
Richard Reed, Dick Reed, yeah. I emailed Dick Reed, and I usually carbon copy Jennifer Wu. She is his assistant. And she's
Can you
also
please
an
send me
attorney.
this information?
The contact information?
Yes.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. All right.
And get Jill in the loop then.
Try to get it back on the agenda here as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
It's pretty much on the agenda forever at this point.
Which one of the contracts
Every
was
week
which,
we've had
whether
talk
he
about
had
it, I
one
thought.
that was supposed to be done,
So,
and then there was an
yeah, the
agreement
San Souci
what
done, that
he
one's
did. I will-
Yeah.
good, except for we need to put the other
Yeah.
stuff in there.
As
And
soon as I locate
And
that.
Chris, the San Souci one also needs to have this, the auditor's statement.
Yes, I
Yeah, that's the one that
understand.
doesn't.
Yeah.
And they've been informed also. Anytime I do a contract, I pass that information on to the people that I
Well,
contract
until
with.
they do it, they're not gonna get paid.
You know, all I can do is tell them.
Okay, let's move on.
okay.
Yes, gentlemen,
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
one of these days, they said it will be over.
Okay. Approval and signing of agreement to participate in DHSS Safe Crib Program.
Hello. So this is a participation agreement. I don't know why they sent it in the form of a letter where we work with DHS. They provide the cribs and we provide educational sessions for people who qualify the program, and they pay us to do that educational session, and then we give them a crib so their baby has a safe place to sleep. So this just says that they'll reimburse us $50 for the education session if they come to the office, $75 if we go to their home.
Okay. look over.
Unfortunately, they did not provide it. They
Christie's
said
always
if you
good
want
about
to
doing
sign
this
it, I can
ahead
cross
of
that out,
time.
or you can
Oh.
just sign it down here, wherever you want. They just,
You guys got questions?
No.
I move that we approve and sign the participation agreement with DHSS for the Safe Crib program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approval and signing of contract renewal for DHSS Adult Brain Injury Services Coordination.
This is the annual contract renewal for the brain injury coordinator, that Shallon Schoenhardt's position. It covers her salary, fringe, a small amount of administrative costs for us, and her travel. They did reduce it a few years ago from 18 counties to 15 counties, so the contract usually covers it. There was no changes this year, and Jill did review it.
Okay. Questions?
No.
Move that we approve and sign the contract renewal with DHSS for the Adult Brain Injury Services Coordination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval and signing of contract renewal for Cole County Medical Director.
This is just our annual contract with Dr. Kaywood for his, he signs our standing orders for our nurse practitioner, our collaborative practice agreement, and he reviews charts each month. So there was no cost in the annual fee.
Where's he from?
Cap Region.
Oh. I didn't know if it said it in there. I didn't look at that.
It doesn't say it in there. The contract is with him, not with Cap Region, so it doesn't say.
Yeah, same with EMS.
Yeah.
What's his fees?
We pay him $5,000 a year. And we have talked to him that if we do decide to do a nurse practitioner next year, he would be willing to cover that one too. They can only cover so many nurse practitioners and so many, I don't remember what it's called, advanced practice nurses, you know, under their license. So he has room to be able to do that.
Okay.
And then notes, you might want to black out his social when you put it in the.
Oh, absolutely.
Like put a piece of something over it.
I move that we approve and sign the contract renewal with Dr. Kaywood for the Cole County Medical Director position.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any unfinished business?
I could bring up, if I may, I know we talked about the ad in the paper for employment, directing people to our website. I have put the ad in there 4 weeks now, so ask me to come back to you after a month. It is costing roughly a little over $300 a week to put that ad in the paper. And Melissa had come up with also kind of the same design and a little different and put it on our website. Do I think it's working, not working? It seems to be the same list that we're gonna keep, that we have kept in the paper for the last 4 runs in the paper, be it ambulance service, full and part-time, paramedics, EMT, sheriff's department deputies, correction officers, full and part-time, and then also the Pringer Center, youth specialist, full and part-time. There's been a couple, you know, that's actually one of our building maintenance came on and off. And the only one that got added is the public works mechanic type position got added, and then the assessor positions. I emailed the departments, asked them if there's any new ones, or any they want to take off. I think these will continue to remain on, at least the 3 of them, because it's an ongoing thing, EMS, sheriff, and juvenile. So whether you guys feel like it's worth it to keep putting it in the paper weekly at that rate, or if you think maybe once a month, twice a month, and then continue to keep it on our website updated.
I'd just put it on the website at this point.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the one yesterday on EMS, so I think, didn't we just have paramedics? I think they had taken EMTs out.
Yeah, they did too.
Yeah, because I think there were, so.
So,
Yeah.
I keep it, like I talked to Jill about this morning, equal employment opportunities. I'm not exactly sure how many people are, website attracts to that website. Maybe if we go ahead and do this once a month in the paper and then keep it on the website type thing.
If we have Jeff just stick it in his article every week, we could save $300. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, if they could just put it by our contact information that they publish.
Yeah.
Hiring.
County Commissioner.
See, we missed you so much, we have to.
No, I think take it out and maybe we can do a smaller ad or something that pushes people to our website.
And we can keep bringing it to you later. I know especially if somebody's got specialized departments, they're gonna go out into other avenues to find people than the local paper and the website.
I'm just curious how much it's pulled in or drawn in, how many applicants it has brought in for us, how effective it has been.
I can get statistics off of our website from Melissa. Other than that, I would,
Was this
But
just
you don't know
in,
if it came from the newspaper.
no.
I'm talking about the
Just how
ads in the
many hits.
paper,
Have the paper. I don't.
so.
was it just in the Jeff City paper? I run some ads sometimes that are also included in Fulton and California. Is it
I'll
the
have to
lake one?
email you where
I just wondering if,
It's on that website.
if we were in,
they
yeah.
have to. When you put an ad in, it's also counted on the website.
Okay.
So, okay, well, I'm just gonna continue with the website and then probably put it in the paper once a month and then report back to you guys.
Maybe something we wanna look at is doing it outside of Cole County. 'Cause,
Well,
you know,
you can do it in all of their papers. I'm not sure what the additional cost is, but I don't think it's that much.
Cause you can't walk in any place that doesn't have a hiring sign on it now, so if you're not working, you're not looking. So,
Okay. They give you direction?
Yeah. All right.
So, just a question, obviously, we're closing on the health department this week, but, do we have to vote to sign any documents there, or?
No, because you already voted to do the purchase. This is just, whenever we bought a building in the
Okay.
past, well, actually, Mark.
Yeah, when we bought the lot.
Yeah, we just went over,
we just
Sam
went over
signed
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mark
Took those
Ellenberg
long to keep me.
would give me his stamp, and I'd go over there and stamp Mark's name on everything, on other purchases.
Have you guys done a walkthrough on that yet?
And tomorrow afternoon at 1:30.
Okay.
That's when Greg and I were walking through.
Okay.
We went through there on Thursday. Some staff of mine that had not been there yet, so we took them over and just kind of looked around. And Pathways was still getting some of their stuff out of there. There was still a lot of stuff they needed to get out. So I'm hopeful that but I will let Austin Jeff Davis a note saying that we're going to walk through one more time tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
But I'm hoping they got everything out.
Was it our Chris White that had a baby? There was,
Close, I didn't know we had.
No.
No,
They're
okay.
due in July.
okay. I
He was
didn't
at
think,
work
I
this
didn't.
morning, so I think not.
They just said Father Chris White. and I'm
That's probably
like,
the one from Salvation Army,
Oh.
because they were due like any day.
Oh, okay.
Rachel was.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Popular name. So, anyway, we're gonna walk through tomorrow afternoon again. But, yeah, they had like bags of Sharps containers and some medications and stuff. I'm hoping they got all that stuff out.
Okay.
Any other unfinished? New business accounts payable review.
There is actually one check out there for today. We could go ahead and process that, that would be great.
Okay. I move that we approve accounts payable pending review.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Do we have any other issues? I'm gonna push the book. This just came out last week. This is the Cole County Sheriff's Office and Jail History. compiled by Robin Blevins. And they are for sale now, $25. And it will go to the, I think the sheriff's, whatever their reserve is, and the posse. Then I also have tickets for the sheriff's barbecue. One of these does have a get out of jail free, but there are certain, you know, things that apply.
Betsy usually comes over and sells them to us.
Would you rather buy from Betsy
I
or?
would.
Oh, that
Wow.
hurt.
I've told the exes that before. Do not ask questions you don't want to answer.
That hurts. Okay, I got Missouri Department of Natural
Is
Resources.
that this week?
No, it's next week.
Okay.
See, we're a day behind though. But this was actually sent to the Honorable Carrie Turgeon, but then I was CC'd. The Woodland Old City Cemetery, 1000 and 1022 East McCarty, has been considered named property proposed for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. So this will be forwarded on to the keepers of the National Register. Then I got a letter from Juneteenth, and I'm not gonna be here, I'm going to a Cardinal game. But on Saturday, June 16th, they would like for one of us to bring greetings to your constituents and our festival guests at around 11:20 a.m. So if either one of you would want to go bring greetings to our constituents, I will give you
Yeah, I
that.
got their invitation.
That's all I've got.
I don't think I have anything else.
Which of these accounts payable do you need done? I see an AT&T and I see it, State Treasurer.
Yes.
Okay. I move we stand in recess till 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Turner.
Quick.